All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Turnbuckle Studios proudly brings to you its gaming and entertainment news of the week. Normally tonight I'd be staying with your host and tag team partners. He's Bubba Duke, I'm OMD, but tonight Bubba Duke is off on assignment. Tonight I am joined by a man I do a plethora, just for him I had to use that word, of shows with right here on Turnbuckle Studios and the Boar's Nest. Mr. Chris Best, how we doing, my friend?
Doing pretty good. Pretty excited actually today. Got a bit of gaming news actually. Today was Sony's State of Play,
Okay.
and they revealed I'm going to use that word, plethora of games coming out. They revealed close to, I want to say 40 some odd games. It felt like in this half-hour video that they did, and there's a litany of games that I'm excited for and that I need to get a PS5 for. One game, for example, the remake of Silent Hill 2.
Nice.
I am a massive Silent Hill fan, and that was the game that got me hooked on that series. So seeing a remake of that coming out, take my money.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, normally we would be doing gaming and entertainment news. We will be joined by another guest in a little while. The Bulkster, we hope, will join us. But tonight we are going to just have an open mic night. It was going to be guest choice. The guys were going to try and showcase WWE 2K24.
Yeah, but my controller went on the fritz on me today after playing NHL.
So we're just going to have an open mic night and discuss whatever is on our minds.
It's a good thing that tomorrow I'm going to go buy a new controller.
Yes.
But
now I have to admit that I've got Access TV on my TV screen right now watching TNA Impact because of what happened Tuesday night on NXT.
Oh, yeah.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen it or haven't heard, was huge. TNA Knockouts champion Jordynne Grace is the number one contender for Roxanne Perez's NXT Women's Championship at Battleground.
We have to do a watch along for Battleground. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. You and I, it's on. We're doing it.
Yep. 100%. 100%. And normally we wouldn't do a PLE patrol for NXT.
Well, I mean, our second PLE patrol was NXT Vengeance Day.
Right.
But yeah, we have to do it.
Yeah, especially for this one. And that was huge. And I mean, you talk about the immediate effect this crossover has had, not only on us here at Turnbuckle Studios, but right throughout the internet and the IWC.
I mean, if some of the discussions that we've been doing after the show were live, there's a lot of avenues that we've talked about, that we've explored, where you could go with this whole thing with the WWE and TNA's relationship.
Yes, and the big thing I have noticed is that the IWC is not complaining about it. Everybody seems to be excited.
But here's the thing. The IWC will complain about who wins or who loses out of these matches that we could possibly get.
Yes. I'm almost wondering if it would be, if you wanted to do the crossover, and as we were discussing pre-show, between all of WWE and TNA, or do you just keep it NXT and TNA? The other thing that would intrigue me would be, do you do a Saturday night and Sunday night, or a set of weekend shows to showcase all of these potential matchups? One in the Impact Zone, one at a WWE venue.
Well, I would use the PC for that in that case too.
Yes, absolutely. You can So you stay at the Capitol Wrestling Center as well as the
Mhm.
Impact Zone?
Be a lot easier to make the wrestlers travel because this this is one of the funny things that I remember reading about. If you want to go to the Impact Zone, you have to go to the PC to go to the Impact Zone.
Right,
Catch the bus to go there.
right. I remember back when the Impact Zone was at Universal Studios, Studio 43,
Hmm.
and our compatriot, our producer, our director of operations, Carl Carafel, being the Disney fan he is, if you had a pass to Disney, you could go and get free tickets to Impact.
Yeah, and that's still the case there too. So
Oh, yeah?
yeah. Oh, but I don't know. I'm just thinking of all these different options, and I'm cluing into a lot of things that are being said, especially what Nick Aldis said to AJ Styles on SmackDown about how he's not going to get a shot here.
Right. Yeah, he has to earn it again. He's not
Hmm.
just going to get another shot. But I mean, it would be interesting to see AJ Styles return to Impact as a member of the WWE roster for a show. But
What I'm intrigued about is,
do you see maybe
I
AJ's
was going to
history
say,
with Impact leading him to turn on WWE in a shoot, especially given his heel persona right now?
can you imagine him leading the charge in a TNA invasion, as it were?
Legitimately, I could.
My question is, how would you book an invasion angle in this day and age? Because let's face it, the WCW invasion angle sucked. It
It
was
it did.
it was good in the fact that we did get Booker T, we got DDP out of it, but they were just, you
Yeah.
know, they weren't booked the way they should have been.
No, not at all. And I think a lot of that had to do with that North versus South, us versus them mentality.
Hmm.
So even though you were now owned by the one company, you were still them. So it wasn't. I know for me, as far as I go back in this industry, one of the things I said, especially during the latter years of Vince McMahon's regime,
Hmm.
was there was a way you needed to get a new energy into Raw that we've now seen in this last year and a half, really. And that would have been you go through a name change for Raw, bring back the Nitro name, give it that kick.
Hmm. I don't know about changing the name of Raw because that's just been a staple of Monday nights now.
It has, but you
Um,
could have done it to inject that fire for a time being, but had that war over the name.
yeah, but as I mean, just a simple change of ownership for WWE has definitely ignited a fire, and you could see those reactions from us Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, as we do the Raw Patrol. A little nice little segue there.
And then you can hear us further analyze and break down those reactions Tuesday nights at 8:05 on Turnbuckle Talk.
There we go. More segues. Um, I'm watching this past week's NXT right now without the leg that I was getting when I was trying to watch it on Tuesday.
Right.
I'm at the Ridge Hall and Riley Osborne match right now.
Okay.
And I'm actually just sitting here and I'm just like, damn, this is actually a pretty good match.
That was a fantastic match.
Yeah.
Um,
But let's what do you say we talk about the other surprise that we got on NXT? One that we had no idea was even going to happen because no one knew where this guy was going after he left
no.
all AEW.
And this is a man who is still, apparently, as of today, a free agent in wrestling.
Maybe he's playing the kayfabe card on that, and that is one Ethan Page.
Yes. And wow. if anybody was wondering how is NXT going to fill the void left by guys like Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin, Ilya Dragunov, Carmelo Hayes,
Ethan
they
Page
filled
just
it.
went ahead and did that.
Yeah.
But at the
Yeah.
same time, we're looking at some future contenders on NXT still being built up. I mean, we still got Tony D'Angelo and Stacks still being built up. I mean, Noam Dar is now on his way up the NXT roster, and I kind of like that as well.
Yes. Yes. Noam Dar, Oro Mensa, if they'll actually give him some in ring time.
Yeah,
The No Quarter Catch Crew, all
yeah.
being built up as future challengers. And I could see them
Because
again. It's something that, we discussed the other day. It's done time and again where you give the factions all the gold. You could see the No Quarter Catch Crew be that three man, potentially four man if they go with what I suggested on Tuesday of adding Jake Hager. Get them back the Heritage Cup, get them the North American title, get them the world title, or get them the tag team titles.
well, we know that William Regal's boy, I forget his name. Oh, Charlie Dempsey. That's it. Yeah. We know that he's once again trying to gun for that Heritage Cup, and kind of want to see him with it again because I was really liking his run with it.
Yes, the issue I had with that was that yes, even though Charlie's name was on it as the champion, any member of the no quarter catch crew could defend it.
Yeah,
So it was
Freebird rule.
almost Freebird rule, yeah, almost New Day again.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need that again.
No, if Dempsey does get it back, Dempsey needs to be the one defending it. The other two can go after the tag belts.
Yeah.
Now, as I'm looking at Ridge Holland celebrating here and Riley Osborne getting upset that he lost because he just shoved away Ridge Holland, is Ridge Holland trying to become a member of Chase U?
That seems to be where it's leaning so that he can probably so that he can get that guidance. We know we saw it attempted with Sean Spears, but now we sort of see him trying to do this face turn and okay, like, can somebody help me out?
Right.
Or is he just, playing it the way he always has, like, because he had the Brawling Brutes on SmackDown, and now he's done this with Sean Spears, he's doing this with Chase U, or is he just out to be the next sort of lone wolf and screw everyone?
Mm-hmm. I think he'd be better off as a lone wolf type character. If I'm being completely honest with you, I love Rich Holland. I like all the European wrestlers. I'm just going to put that out there.
Oh, there's something to be said for British and European strong style.
Yeah, it's it harkens all the way back to Davey Boy Smith when everybody was wrestling the same style. Watching Davey Boy wrestle was just, it felt different watching him wrestle.
It did. It did, but the problem is that even Davey Boy got played out a little bit, and then it just became the same match over and over again. And I know we can say that about countless superstars. Mm-hmm. We can say that about Jeff Hardy with Stone Cold, The Rock, Cena, Orton, Brett. It was the same match over and over again.
Although I with Davey Boy, he does hold a special place in my heart, not just because he is a heart. He's also a part of the very first WrestleMania prediction I ever made. Right. It came true. I predicted that WrestleMania 7, we were going to see Warlord versus the British Bulldog, and we got that. And I'll never forget. I was at the Holiday Inn. They were showing it on closed circuit at our local Holiday Inn downtown. And the moment Bulldog's match came up, that whole match, I was just sitting there like, yes. because I
right?
wanted to see two big beefy powerhouses just beat the piss out of each other.
Right. And that was the beefy powerhouses back in the day. Now you get these meat muscle challenges.
Yep. Oh, geez.
So we did break down a number of people, like top executives being let go from the WWE side of things in the TKO merger on Tuesday. We talked
Mm-hmm.
about a number of people simply opting not to renew their contracts in AEW.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to touch on AEW for a minute because I did watch the show last night.
I watched parts of it, and
Um,
well, I was talking with you while we watched while it was on. So
yep. And I really gotta disagree with the way they ended the show. They should not have. You just put the belt on Will Ospreay on Sunday night at the PLE or the pay per view.
right, yeah,
Now you have him winning this gauntlet match to now become the number one contender for the world title.
mm-hmm.
Really not smart booking. You could have had somebody else win it. Ospreay doesn't have to take the fall and still look incredibly strong.
Right,
But why? Like, yes, Will Ospreay is a phenomenal talent. I cannot deny that. Will Ospreay is probably the best wrestler they have on that in that locker room.
that's not. I don't know, man. Daniel Bryan's still there.
Um, but you can't just, and I mean, don't get me wrong, because I've been an advocate for the slow burn and not strapping the rocket ship to somebody and just pushing them to the moon.
Yeah,
Um, so like that's where I can take it back to the King and Queen of the Ring, where I know a lot of it people thought that Lyra should win it, including Booker T, but they put the crown on Nia, which I thought was a smart decision because you don't need to shoot Lyra right to the world title shot this quickly.
right. And that's not to say that Lyra still won't find herself in the world title picture by say SummerSlam.
Right.
She may not. We don't know at this point.
Right. And for me personally, I really hope not, just because I'd rather have that slow burn, have her climb up. She didn't need the win that they gave her on Monday against Io Sky. I think Io needed that win a little bit more.
I think, but I think that win was done to just remind us that we are still booking Lyra the way you guys want to see her booked.
Right.
But anyways, back to AEW. Will Ospreay winning that farce of a Rumble. That's what I'm calling it.
Right.
It's exactly like what our friend Chris Parrish had said. We're like maybe 5 months into Will Ospreay's run, and it already feels like they've run through the gambit of the dream matches that Will Ospreay is to
Yep.
have.
Yep.
We're coming up on the point now. He is getting a title shot. I don't think he should be because he just got the title, his title that he's wearing right now
Yep.
at the pay-per-view. Why? Why
Yep.
not
And
give him 6 months with the current belt he's got on his waist right now?
and
Build up that belt.
you've just gone through this whole Swerve was a heel, but you built him up to be this massive baby face and put the belt on him.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to do face versus face, champ versus champ. This is not Hogan Warrior, folks.
This isn't Cody and Logan either.
Right?
Even though, well, I know Swerve and Ospreay will put on a decent match.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm worried about it.
Yeah. But again, maybe they're just because of, as we touched on the shock value and the too far gone in AEW on Tuesday, is that maybe they're attempt. But, I can think of a certain group of people, maybe a certain studio that could go in and do the writing and booking for AEW to turn it around. And I think as I look into my camera and on the right hand side of my screen, I see one of those writers. As I look into my camera, as you guys look at us, you look at two of those writers. If you check out any of the programming here at Turnbuckle Studios, including the Chris Parrish podcast and the plethora of groups of shows he does, you see your studio, you see
Mm-hmm.
your booking committee.
And here's the thing. I think logically when I book.
Right?
I'm not like whatever they're doing in AEW, because there's just a lot of illogical stuff that happens there.
It's all do it the hard way because we have that TV 14 rating.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, like they still don't have their TV deal secured for the fall.
Okay, and here's how. Okay, so here's the thing too. Like, yeah, do it the hard way. I mean, you build to those moments where a weapon needs to be involved or something like that. It's. I always used to use what I would call the the 3-act way of booking.
Right.
So you have your first match. It's a regular match.
Right.
Right. I think. Am I still free?
Yeah.
I was saying like the 3-act way. So you have your first match. It's a normal match. Second match. The babyface wins. We'll say in the first match. Second match is that heel is trying to look for some kind of revenge because the good guy won. So he wins using a cheating, nefarious way, whether it's outside interference or something like that. Third match, then you put a step in.
Right. Yeah, it's just like writing a book, building a movie. You have your prologue, your story, your climax, your epilogue.
Yep.
And that is all you need. You can do that in short-term booking, you can do that in long-term booking. You don't need to have flamethrowers. You don't need to have guys getting knocked off the top of a cage every time you do a blood and guts. You don't need the stadium stampede or anarchy in the arena type matches all the time. And I realize that they do only do those matches once a year, so I can understand that.
Well,
but still, when you do the same type of spot at each of those matches every time.
Yeah, Anarchy in the Arena and Stadium Stampede are both kind of the same match, and they've both happened in under a year. So,
yes. So yes, you take a look and you wonder why people like they have this bloated roster, but they're trying to shift Ring of Honor talent and AEW talent back and forth between both shows. The big thing I liked about AEW in the beginning, even when it was just Dynamite, you didn't have Cody on every show. You had him once. You'd get Kenny Omega the following week. You'd get the Young Bucks the following week. So you didn't have to have all of your EVPs out there and flaunting their authority. Not even flaunting their authority, but just there because they were there in their backstage mentorship role as well. But they didn't need to be on TV every week.
And this is the one thing that I've liked about Cody as an EVP there. He wasn't always in the spotlight, as it were.
Right.
He wasn't always in the main. He was in the important matches, but he wasn't always in the main event. Where it seems like the Young Bucks, and I hate to say it because I love Kenny Omega, but Kenny Omega as well is guilty of it.
Yep.
Them three. Always having that spotlight, always taking the main event. That's why I hate it. Like after I've watched, there was one Dynamite where I watched Swerve Strickland and defend the title. I'm like, okay, this is the main event. This is the final show. The match ends. There's 15 minutes left in the show. The Young Bucks fucking come out.
Right. And you know what? Yes, Kenny Omega is guilty of it, Not as bad. I'm not as big a fan of Kenny Omega. I'm not sold. The member of the Elite that I've always thought was the best in terms of in ring talent was another guy that was always in the spotlight, that being Hangman Page.
So I like what they're doing with Hangman. Hangman again comes into the main event when he needs to. He's incredibly over. He has been for quite some time, or at least from what I can remember, he's over. um, he should have been AEW's guy from the start, but that's another story.
Yep.
Um, yeah, but he's not always featured in the main event. He's the kind of guy who's there just helping out the other guys, and I kind of like that.
Yeah. But, and I mean, and you look at AEW's track record, they book these guys from whether it's New Japan, from WWE when they sign them, try and shoot them to the moon, but then these guys are injured and then left off TV for a year, even when they're ready to come back.
Yeah.
And I mean, you wonder why there's frustration. Like, and I look at a guy like Miro now, who comes back, wrestles for 3 weeks, and then he's injured again. He's got the Wade Barrett luck when Barrett won the Intercontinental title.
Yeah. Oh, that really sucked because I was enjoying a lot of Wade Barrett and I wanted more out of him. And when they started doing the bad news Barrett gimmick, I thought, okay, maybe this is the thing for him.
Right?
And then they put him in League of Nations, and I'm like, oh, okay, they're done with him.
Yep. Well, it was the same thing with Miro Rusev at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So Access TV is showing highlights from what happened on Tuesday on NXT and advertising that Jordynne Grace is competing this coming Tuesday.
Cool. So, like, okay, so with this Jordynne Grace thing, then I wanted to say, like, because you mentioned 3 appearances, and if she's already knocked back 2 and got one next week, something tells me that there is way more to the deal.
No, this 3 appearances began on Tuesday.
Okay.
Tuesday next week, and then Battleground. And it is apparently a 6-figure deal for 3 appearances. Now, more could be added.
Yeah, because I'm gonna say, as we're talking Jordynne Grace right now, I've got the Jordynne Grace segment about to happen here. I was thinking about this, but imagine she takes the NXT title and then she loses the TNA Women's title.
Right?
I'm just, I'm giddy. I'm giddy to see her again, you know? Because unlike you, I know you get to watch TNA. I don't for another day because I'm probably going to
Right.
get that. I'm going to pay for that subscription probably tomorrow.
Right. Just give me a second. I got a message from Bulkster who, for some reason, did not get the link when I posted it in the Boar's Nest earlier. Did I put it in the wrong chat?
But I am doing something that is sort of gaming related right now.
Yeah.
I'm eating Pokemon cookies.
Nice.
They're actually really tasty. What did you send me? Oh, the thing with yeah.
I think I posted it in the wrong chat.
Did he get the link?
Not yet. No, it's not in Turnbuckle Studios.
Give me a second.
Oh, I posted it in the other
Data,
group chat.
Data will get this done for you.
No, I didn't post it in there. All right. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are patiently awaiting the arrival of the Bulkster. He should be arriving
Wait, did I send it to the right chat just now?
Yeah. Yeah. He'll get it there.
Okay, I
So.
sent it. Sometimes I can't tell with the Facebook because I gotta name our groups so that I know which group is which.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, our chicken parm champion of the world is here.
Woo! The Bulkster was lost, but now he's found.
I
Yeah.
believe in Bulkster. We were talking, Bulkster, about, well, actually a plethora of things.
Yes, I've
in
been
wrestling.
watching the stream while I've been waiting for someone to see a message.
I did post the message, but of course I'm also not really checking my phone tonight, but
So yeah, I've been watching, listening, been kind of bouncing around. You've been bouncing around from AEW to NXT, and what you guys were just recently talking about the whole three signed on for 3 appearances by
Jordan Grace.
Jordan Grace, which was amazing. That was something to see, just because it's uncommon. I mean, we got a little taste of it at Royal Rumble, thinking, okay, we have high hopes, but there's probably a lot of inner workings, contracts, getting you
Yeah.
can't overbook her, if she is in a big storyline with, TNA, but
We were also discussing the idea that this opens it up for more TNA talent to come out because of the fact that
I mean, it is possible.
Drew and Moose also had some interactions across Twitter today.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on if they're just going to leave it with NXT to be able to go bouncing back and forth, as they're I guess I'd feel WWE in general feel that NXT is, even though they say they're 3 brands, is in the same level as TNA.
right.
So do they bring over big stars from WWE to it would sure as heck help their ratings. I mean, if you knew Drew McIntyre was going to show up on TNA to do a program with something, that would just elevate TNA to. I mean, I already think TNA is. What do I feel TNA? I don't know where TNA sits, as in, like, I don't like to. I despise AEW, but I feel TNA. I enjoy TNA more, even though I don't keep up with it. I know the stars.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
See, for me, for a long time, I held TNA here to WWE here. I had TNA as the superior wrestling product.
Hopefully
now,
not when Hogan was running it.
No, this was long after Hogan, long after Billy Corgan.
With six-side ring.
No, they were still down in the four-side. They were back. They were at the four-sided. But I held TNA in the highest regard. I thought they were the best wrestling product on TV. But that's because WWE was under the Vince McMahon regime, and it was the same boring, predictable show, regardless of whether it was Raw, SmackDown, and I really wasn't into NXT.
Speaking of boring and
Predictable and same show every week.
Chris
We got the Chris Parrish.
We also have the leg maestro. up here.
everyone.
We got scrambled and legs right there.
Hi, Fro.
How we
Scrambled
doing,
leg.
Parrish?
I'm doing a little bit of all right.
Excellent.
How are you guys?
I'm
There was
doing
the
very
most
well.
awkward of silence to follow that question.
I am doing very well, thank
Yeah.
you.
I froze just I was trying to make a joke about you, Parrish.
But no,
No.
I'm excited for, I don't think they're gonna overdo it. They ain't gonna start, having a bombard of people. I think it's gonna be maybe a couple a year, maybe, if that, if it works.
We touched on the idea of an invasion angle earlier, and we just didn't think it really worked.
I think if they do it as a surprising type thing, they're doing with Jordan Grace, I think it would be more beneficial for them because you'll want to watch their product because you
what I
never
said
know
is-
who's going to show up.
Yeah. What I said was I wonder how an invasion angle would work under the current regime. Because I said, let's face it, the WCW invasion angle kind of sucked.
Yep.
It only sucked because no big names came in, and that's a problem. Like WWE bought WCW, but they couldn't get the AOL contracts.
As a normal WWE guy, I enjoyed the invasion angle. So,
Go ahead.
But just as a normal, casual fan, I mean, I didn't really deep down into everybody else. I knew WCW and I knew WWE. That's it.
Right.
So I knew the guys that came over. I'm like, oh man, this is neat. Just to see this dynamic. Even though the big guys didn't show up, yes, was I disappointed? Yeah, but I was still getting something that we all kind of craved for as an invasion.
I think the only thing that really died it down was the fact that you had to get so many people within WWE to go on the other team just to make it even. Had you had at least a couple guys, like if a Sting was there, or at least if the NWO was there, or just give us a couple big names. So now we have this, and you get to see from what I'm hearing, it's rumored that it's Moose versus Drew McIntyre at a chance. We have Jordan Grace coming on to NXT, probably the most dominant women's champion in TNA history.
Yes.
Right? And now she's going to be introduced to the WWE world in that frame. I'm curious to see, since this match at Battlegrounds is just going to be for the NXT women's title, does Jordan Grace return the favor and allow Roxanne Perez to go to, say, TNA at whenever their next big show is for her championship? And who's gonna be that? And who, if you really want to make this interesting, does somebody win a title? Does Jordan Grace win the NXT women's title? And what does that mean moving forward?
Right. As I'm watching TNA right now, I do have John Gresham dressed as the Great Muta on my screen facing Sami Callihan.
Well, he needs some personality, that's for sure.
Yeah. I'm trying to find out what TNA's next show is, actually.
Well, their big one is going to be Slammiversary from Montreal.
Yeah.
But they should have one coming up fairly soon.
Maybe we'll get Broken Matt Hardy.
No. Just no. No.
Well, we'll have him against The Rock, so OMD can have his favorite matchup of all time.
So the next show is Slammiversary.
Okay. Can it be a dark match, please?
If you're in a not wanting to make money, then sure, it could be whatever kind of match you want. Just close your eyes, and it could be a dark match for you. But I mean, imagine I know best. We've talked about this, but imagine if a guy like Joe Hendry comes over. I said this last night. We have a PLE in Scotland for WWE called Clash at the Castle. Who would not make a better guest host than Joe Hendry? Somebody who's actually from Scotland.
I sort of went further and put him up against Braun Breaker earlier.
You also had him interfering in Drew's match earlier to challenge Drew.
I mean, I think too, we got to keep expectations kind of at least on a playing field. Like Joe Hendry is not a world championship talent right now in TNA. No. So, in what world would he be one in WWE?
Right, he'd be a good mid card talent given what they're doing with him right now in TNA. So,
and you see, I could see Joe Hendry for any of the secondary titles, Intercontinental, US, or the NXT North American.
And I want to throw this one: Joe Hendry, Logan Paul. You can't tell me that's not a match that social media is going to go crazy about.
Oh, that's a big money match for
right?
I only know Joe Henry from the song because it's catchy. Is he a social media guy like Logan Paul? I mean, I don't know if he had a podcast or.
Well, he's on Spotify and he does pretty well, so I would say yes, he is now.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know.
But I mean, I think it's one of those things where you got to take. Okay, who's a very viral guy in TNA? It's Joe Hendry, especially with that theme song, right? Who's a viral guy in WWE? Logan Paul. It happens to be one's a babyface, one's a heel. I mean, that's just a perfect match, right? If you ask me. And then you can look at, okay, maybe we see a Hammerstone versus a Braun Breaker.
I like that one better than Hendry and Breaker.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, they said Moose and McIntyre. I don't know if that's legit or not. I just read it. I couldn't even tell you the source. I couldn't even tell you if it was just a mockery account or if it was legit.
No, that was up countless times today that I saw that on social media.
Right, but did you go to Drew's actual Twitter or Moose's actual Twitter to see?
Am I on X?
Well, I mean, you're not on Twitter.
No, I'm not.
It's all about checking your sources, my friend.
So I'm on Drew's page now, and he has doors open both ways, and it's a picture of him having the TNA World Title.
Yeah.
And then, as of right now, there's nothing on about Moose.
So here's another thing I'm wondering about too. Could we see wrestlers showing up on TNA to further TNA storylines, or showing up on WWE to further TNA storylines?
Maybe. It could happen. I mean, when we think about talent from the main roster that go to NXT because there's nothing for them, TNA now could be a viable option for that same situation when they're like, okay, well, maybe we don't want them to go to NXT because we feel that we might have to push them over talent in NXT. But imagine if you're doing that and go to TNA and you could have, say, a match with AJ Styles and Nick Nemeth in TNA.
Yep. As you and I alluded to, AJ going to TNA to do that. We even discussed the idea of AJ leading a TNA invasion.
And imagine if this is your way to get Bully Ray in WWE. And how much could this be an entertaining thing? Like, you have to think that there's going to be so many wide open doors to this if they're really going to let it go.
Right.
Let it go.
No, Bulkster, this isn't Frozen. You're not Stephen Hunter trying to sing the duet on Lip Sync Battle.
How OMD knows that is beyond me.
Because I've seen it
I
numerous
was hoping
times.
someone would catch on.
Because I enjoyed lip sync battle, okay?
No, but what I mean is like, let's say Jordan Grace is having a feud with Jody Threat over in TNA, and Jordan Grace has the match with Roxanne Perez, but then suddenly Jody Threat shows up and tries to cost her the match or something like that. That's what I'm meaning by
Right.
furthering TNA angles on WWE programming, and vice versa, WWE programming maybe furthering angles over on TNA as well.
Right.
And
I mean, somebody like Me Chin has history in TNA as well,
Mhm.
as do the Good Brothers. So you could get that again. As well, you've
So-
got the ABC.
so does
Rep-
Xavier Woods.
Yes, he does.
So does a lot of people like
R-Truth.
the good old word plethora. Yeah, R-Truth.
Yep.
He became the first Black NWA World Champion
Yeah.
under the TNA banner.
Yep.
So yeah,
Oh, right. Because when Ron Simmons did it, it was just WCW.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, the possibilities are endless, and imagine if this is a way WWE can bring Scott D'Amore back into the fold too.
Right.
Who I think.
See you
Who I
later,
think-
Bolster.
Bogster's
Oh.
frozen pizza is burning in the oven.
Both be gone. But no, imagine if WWE say maybe bring Scott D'Amore to be like their Canadian head of scout, kind of like
Yep.
William Regal is one of their internationals, and
Mhm.
then you can have that, or maybe just a North American one. But now all of a sudden, you're really opening up so many possibilities.
Oh, absolutely.
I know we kind of made the joke after you guys did Turnbuckle Talk, or we talked about what happens if Worlds Collide becomes WWE or even NXT versus TNA.
Yep.
And if that's the case, now all of a sudden we're seeing, maybe we see Trick Williams versus Moose in a champions versus champions match.
Right.
They got, knockout. They got tag champs there. Do we see Jade and Bianca do something?
Right.
Do it. NXT TNA Royal Rumble. And the winner wins a title shot on the respected brand.
How about they have a chance for a title shot of any title on any brand of their choosing?
Yep.
And imagine this, Quark. Imagine if whoever has the X Division Championship and Option C comes into play. When comes up Option C, you can now challenge for the NXT Championship. You can now challenge for the North American Championship.
I love it.
What puts it wide open. As long as this helps TNA, unlike the TNA AEW one, where all it was just giving AEW wrestlers more airtime on their product and taken away, as we saw no one from Impact coming over. Like, I want to see some. Like, we've already seen TNA people on NXT. We've seen Jordan Grace in the Royal Rumble, and now on NXT this past week. I want to see more, and I want to see it go the other way. I want to see a full-on collaboration.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you could also send like I'm watching Dante Chen taking on Lexus King. You could send guys like Dante Chen over there to get some more seasoning outside of the WWE. That way, when Dante Chen comes back to the WWE, he's got that a little bit more experience coming in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm going to pose this one to you. Do we see maybe the idea of a guy whose contract comes up this week in Chad Gable go under sign a new contract, and go to TNA for the time being.
I wouldn't be too opposed to that, but I'm also liking what they're doing with him right
I'm
now in
invested
WWE.
in the story right now.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm just trying to figure out what matches would you give him over in TNA? I mean, there's a lot of great matches he could have there.
Josh Alexander, John Gresham. If you want him to take on a guy like Sammy Callahan, I think that would be a massive throwdown. Rich Swann, Gable versus Joe Hendry.
I wouldn't mind seeing Josh Alexander versus Chad Gable. And you very well could do a Canada versus US there. You don't have to. You can, though. But also, you just can have a very technical wrestling match. And you have one who still wears that amateur headpiece. While this may be allowing Chad Gable to really just bite into more of his amateur background when he has that matchup. And I think that'd be very intriguing. We can even see somebody like Obafemi come into play here. Imagine him and Josh Alexander. Imagine him and Alexander Hammerstone. Imagine him and Moose.
Yep.
Like some big people just beating the crap out of each other. I'm totally down for.
Yep.
Imagine if Roman Reigns decides to go over there and take the TNA World title.
Right. What about a guy like PCO returning to the WWE?
Was he in the WWE?
Yeah,
He was.
He was in the Quebecers, dude.
Oh, I
Yeah.
guess I didn't realize that.
He was also Jean-Pierre Lafitte.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was just a long time ago. Like we're talking
Oh.
early 90s, mid 90s, and
Yeah, we're talking close to 30 years ago.
yeah. Where we saw our hopefully soon to be Hall of Famer Portuguese Man of War, Aldo Montoya.
Yes.
Yes. Aldo for Hall of Fame, boys.
check the dog.
All right. Well, if you boys will give me a moment.
No, we won't. Not at all.
No. Okay, I'm gonna quickly remove the both of them because they both disappeared.
Don't say their name and they'll disappear. We can say bye-bye.
I'm just thinking there's so many awesome options that you can go with. I'm thinking AJ Styles could very well be going over to TNA and doing something there because of what Nick Aldis told him on Friday,
Yeah, and that's another one too. Do we see Nick Aldis himself go back over to TNA? He was a former champion there. Do we see him and his wife reconnect? And if that's the case, do we see them maybe doing something with another couple? Like, could we see, depending on the length of this, could we see Chelsea Green and Matt Cardona versus Nick Aldis
I would love that.
and Mickey James? Like, it would have to be a while because Matt Cardona is going to be a while to come back. But,
yeah,
it's possible. You got one. Oh my God, he's back. Do you even wipe or how do you do it so quickly?
Doesn't take long. All you got to do is hit the head.
Well, as long as the world knows you're not going very long, that's all I need. We all need to know.
No, I didn't take I didn't have my Blue Chew before I went. So,
well, we never said it was difficult. but nonetheless, yeah. And that's the thing. Do we see maybe aces and eights come back?
I would love to see it.
Do we see aces and eights versus the club?
Who from the Aces and Eights are still like involved in TNA though, in WWE?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Trying to remember.
you can have Devon. Those are always people that could be a part of that.
Yeah.
You have Gallows.
Oh, I
Or like
totally.
Anderson.
I totally forgot he was a part of
Mhm.
Aces and Eights.
Yep.
This
He
could
was
be a way to
Doc.
bring Ken Kennedy back or Ken
Mhm.
Anderson back.
Right.
And then, I mean, AJ was there for what, a hot second until he turned on him in
Yeah.
the same night. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's very plausible. And again, like we have ABC right there. Members of the Bullet Club, and then you can go
Mhm.
up against Gallows and Anderson, and maybe, just maybe, you can do Bullet Club there, even though you can do it on the main roster as well.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine the Judgment Day swings over to TNA for a bit. Who doesn't want to see Jordan Grace versus Rhea Ripley down the line?
Oh, I 1000% need that match.
So according to this, as we discussed earlier from a group called the Squared Circle, Arn Anderson is reportedly expected to sign with WWE after his AEW contract expires this weekend. He's expected to rejoin as an on-screen manager for Cody Rhodes, which is why Cody has recently teased bringing a manager on.
I still don't think Cody needs one.
No, but CM Punk never needed Paul Heyman, and it worked.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, just like in anything in the Triple H era, I will always say, let it breathe, let it go. We'll see how it is. Well, if you let it play out, it's probably going to surprise you, because how many times in the last couple of years have we allowed things just to play out, and we're just like, okay, I'm on board.
Yeah,
I'm okay, and that's the one thing that's actually also exciting me too, is the idea that Triple H is bringing back managers. I mean, we've got Paul Heyman, we've got Paul Ellering, now Arn Anderson is coming on board.
Yep. Even Chad Gable, as much as he's wrestling, is taking on that managerial type role.
One thing I'm going to be very intrigued with is, do we at one point see an on-screen confrontation between Tommy Dreamer and Paul Heyman?
Oh, that's right, because Tommy's in TNA right now.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy is the head of TNA Creative.
Imagine if Mark Henry is to come back to WWE. You could have Tommy and Mark Henry, and that means Busted Open Radio will be 100% all over this.
Yeah.
Also, I'll just put it out there. I want to see Undertaker on TNA. I don't care if it's an in-ring role or if it's an on-screen GM thing, whatever the case may be. But how cool would it be to see the Undertaker's shtick outside of WWE once?
Right?
There's a lot of intrigue with that for sure.
Imagine PCO is confronted by the Undertaker.
I kind of like that.
How about, and I believe it was you that alluded to this the other night, Parrish, as I'm getting him on my screen, Mike Santana versus Santos Escobar.
Yeah.
Mike Santana versus Rey Mysterio.
And I'm just going to put this out there. How awesome would it be to see Dominic Mysterio in TNA?
Yeah.
Yep.
Imagine him and Joe Henry. Now that is something I'd be intrigued with.
Can you imagine the song Henry would put out about him?
That's what I want to hear. Actually.
Right.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, I mean, we can easily fantasy book this hard, but I mean, the fact that it's going to be just opened possibilities, open doors, we have no idea what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our minds take us one way, but I mean, what is to
Right.
expect? Like, it's not going to be. WWE is not going to allow TNA to overshadow their product, and neither is TNA going to let WWE overshadow their product.
Right.
They're going to do this in a very specific way where it benefits both parties. Because let's face it, under the Triple H banner, we know the one thing he knows how to do is work with people, and
Yes.
he's not somebody who's just going to be, nope, it's all about us and not you. He knows that that's not going to benefit anything.
As you just pitched the idea of The Undertaker, what about Stone Cold showing up as the GM in TNA?
Like, to me, this is intriguing because I wonder, especially with NXT and TNA kind of doing it, do we see NXT kind of pair with NXT? Like, do we see TNA pair with NXT to become kind of the ultimate developmental platform
Right.
for pro wrestling?
Right.
It just happens to be a televised one that,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because I think it's safe to say TNA and NXT are probably way better in terms of competitive brands than TNA is to Raw or SmackDown.
Right.
Right.
And what kind of a conglomerate could this become to kind of just phase out the other guys?
Right.
But I mean, AEW has their Ring of Honor. Now WWE, they have their TNA.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bulkster, you're awfully quiet. We want to get some of your thoughts on this.
I don't have too many thoughts on it. Like I said, I don't know a lot of the stars except the stars that went over there from WWE. I mean, I know who Moose looked like. I mean, if I seen him, if and if he doesn't get announced, I wouldn't know who he was. It was kind of like Ethan Page. I didn't know who that was when he's attacking. I said, man, he looks familiar when he stood up, and then when he said Ethan Page at the commentary, and he was about ready to say A, and then Booker cut him off, I put two together. But if they didn't say where he was from, I could have, I would have known if he came from TNA, if he was
Right.
from ROH, if he was from AEW. Like I said,
He's done all of those brands. He's been a former tag team champion in TNA with Josh Alexander.
oh. So, like I said, I don't know their history. I like to learn it as they progress because usually their history, if it's relevant, will be brought up somehow.
I was just going to say that's the beauty of WWE announcing these days. When somebody new comes in, i.e. Jordan Grace on Tuesday, they give you a little bit of a history on who she is or who they are so that you understand why this character's coming in and doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Well, and also with Ethan Page, because Vic Joseph said, hey, wait a second, that's Ethan Page. Didn't he work for AE and then Booker T cuts him off? Because yes, that's what you're thinking. We have no idea where Ethan Page works. And they're doing a great job with him saying he's not signed anywhere.
Yep.
Now, that would be something new, because imagine if Ethan Page didn't actually sign with WWE. Imagine if he signed with TNA and he's part of that crossover as well.
Right.
That's very likely. But
Yeah.
I just also firmly believe that WWE signed Ethan Page. Okay. But I'm really curious to see where a guy like Sean Spears would go there. And then now that we've seen, like I said, like we have Speedball and Trent Seven over on TNA as what is it?
Speedball
Mountain. Bring in the new Catch Republic, and you can have that British Strong Style reunion.
Yep.
And it'd be intriguing to me. But is this a way now to kind of bring that faction back a little bit?
Good.
I mean, there's always been a part of me that wanted to see Mustache Mountain come back together. So
I guess like the one question is what individual performer, and I'm going to leave out Jordan Grace's name right now because so far she's the clear runaway in this. What one performer is going to benefit the most out of this collaboration?
See, as much as I want to say Eddie Edwards, he did have a shot in NXT a number of years ago, but I'm going to say a guy like maybe a Steve Macklin.
I'm also just saying this, but Bobby Roode is in WWE. We could see James Storm come back, and Beer Money could finally be on our TVs.
yeah.
Yep.
But I have a feeling we're gonna see somebody like Moose or maybe even Trick Williams. I think this is going to benefit these types of performers.
I'm going to look at this.
Because it's easy to say right now, Jordan Grace is the easy runaway here.
Right.
But not including her name, like who else? Right. It's going to be very intriguing.
I'm going to look at this on a long-term on a long-term position, and I'm going to say it's going to be one of your younger guys, one of your newer TNA guys, your newer WWE guys could very well benefit from this, and that's again going back to that getting out of the realm of the WWE, the realm of TNA, and getting that seasoning through other promotions that could benefit these younger guys in the long haul.
Yep. I'm even going to say this. I mean, maybe a run in TNA would benefit even more so a Braun Breaker.
Yeah.
Bulkster, you sounded sad with that response.
No, Braun Breaker, it would help him. I mean, if he goes over there and
then I think you look at some of the veterans of the WWE that could go over and really benefit the TNA locker room. A guy like a Sheamus, a guy like a Randy Orton.
Like I said, honestly, in my opinion, I don't think they're going to do as. I mean, it would be. I think I'd be shocked if it was more than Like I said, I don't think they're going to oversaturate it. I think we're going to get a surprise here and there. When they say they might have some WWE go over there, I'm thinking whatever story that's going on, kind of like this Jordan Grace and Roxanne. I could see Roxanne make an appearance on TNA to have some kind of either interference in Jordan Grace's match or something of that nature leading up to their match at Battleground or something like that. But I feel it's going to be. I think if you think it's going to be more, a lot more, at least right now, I feel you're going to get let down. I don't like to get my high hopes up because, I mean, there's a lot of times that you're like, oh man, I mean, it just makes your mind wander out. I mean, yeah, if it starts happening, then yeah, it's all aboard. But I don't know.
This is just us playing like fantasy booker over this.
Yeah,
I do think that there is something deeper with this relationship between TNA and WWE, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I personally think the entire women's division here stands to benefit. We all know that TNA has a very good women's division. They just might not have that platform to get to that next level. Whereas NXT has a very good women's division, and you can easily say some of them just need something to get to that next level. Now, if you combine these divisions and allow them to kind of mingle with one another, you're going to see a lot of possibilities here. And I do think if I'm anybody, I'm looking at, say, somebody like maybe Giselle Shaw trying to sneak her way into that North American women's title ladder match.
Yeah.
And having a representation in that. This could be something nobody sees coming. It doesn't have to be Giselle Shaw, but it could be somebody. I just think Giselle Shaw stands to benefit the most out of something like that. But, I mean, I think Battleground now becomes a lot more intriguing because is there something more to it? And now Slammiversary becomes intriguing because what are they going to build to? Slammiversary is like TNA's WrestleMania. So they're going to go big on this one. And if there's possibilities to bring people from the WWE and any brand over, that is going to help make this PLE or pay-per-view just bigger than expected.
That's why I think it's entirely possible that that AJ Styles goes over there. And again, I go back to what Nick Aldis told AJ about not getting a shot in the WWE at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like AJ could be very well going over to TNA under a WWE contract to have a match against Moose or whomever is the champion by that point.
Another name that has done work in that company before, we can't necessarily disregard. It might be unlikely, but Cody Rhodes has worked there before too.
Yes, he has.
And imagine if he defends his title at Slammiversary.
That would be intriguing.
Like an open challenge to anybody in the TNA locker room. And I'm looking at how great would him and Josh Alexander be for that championship.
I don't even know who all the champions are of that company.
Well, I could give you a little history lesson because I'm on their website right now. Moose is the TNA World Champion right now. The Knockouts World Champion is Jordan Grace. The X Division Champion is Mustafa Ali. The TNA Digital Media Champion is Laredo Kid. The World Tag Team. Hey, Laredo on their website, it says so. Are you going to disregard their website?
Yes.
Well, there you go. I'm going off their website. The world champions are Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards. Their knockout tag champions is Alicia Edwards and Masha Slamovich. Yes, I believe Alicia Edwards and Eddie Edwards are husband and wife. And that would be their champions.
Yes, unless Laredo Kid won the title back, and we haven't heard anything about it. The last I had heard, he had dropped it to one AJ Francis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm just going off their website. So if it's wrong, don't blame me. Blame their website, TNAWrestling.com. See, I got him out.
Okay, so here is the thing. Yes, AJ Francis has the title, but the match is going to air on a tape delay. So currently, in kayfabe, Laredo Kid has the title.
Okay.
And because kayfabe means I'm right, I'm going with kayfabe.
Yes, because TNA does tape their shows. They'll do a weekend and they'll tape 3 or 4 shows, and then they air them.
Mm-hmm.
So, by kayfabe standards, the website is truthful.
Yeah. Yeah, when I heard that Francis won the title too, I'm like, AJ Francis has a belt. I'm scared.
Right?
I mean, with what he's capable of doing and bringing the people in, it's a really smart idea. he does have a following. He does have a lot of ins and outs outside of wrestling that could bring in. It's smart business. Now,
Yeah.
is he the best wrestler? No. But
No.
also, how seriously do we take said digital media championships in any promotion?
Well, I took it seriously when Joe Hendry had the belt.
Yeah, but that's because you have a fan boner for Joe Hendry.
I
I
do.
took it seriously when Jordan Grace was the inaugural digital media champion and lost it to Cardona.
I'm not gonna say nothing there.
Going off topic here, but the Rangers are up 1-0 on Florida.
Damn it, I need Florida to win based on how what I'm thinking here.
Yeah.
But if Trocheck got me points, I will not be unhappy. No, it's a meta jab though. Yay!
Honestly, when it comes to that digital media title, I'm just like, just call it the internet title. It just makes sense.
Yeah, but they didn't want to do it as the internet title. That's why they called it the Digital Media Championship.
But digital media is the internet.
I know.
Maybe they couldn't call it that. Maybe they can't trademark internet championship.
Oh yeah, maybe Zack Ryder actually has the rights to that. Maybe.
Yep.
Now, as much as you haven't seen anything on Drew McIntyre's ex, Moose, however, has replied to Drew McIntyre's doors open both ways and says, Drew, I see where your title obsession began. If this is something you truly want, have your boss call my boss. The outcome will be the same. Hashtag trust the system. Hashtag the system. And yes, it's a callback with a photo to when Moose beat Drew Galloway.
Yep.
So there you go.
Yep.
There's
I posted
now
that in the group chat earlier.
I know, but the people might not have known that.
there's now a part of me that wishes, Parrish, that when you were working that show with Moose, that you asked him what the relationship between TNA and WWE was at that point.
I asked him if he would do the Rumble. He said, yes, I like money. That's not a lie. But we also were too busy just eating very delicious chocolate covered pecans that we are given at those shows because of sponsors, which are amazing, and watching WrestleMania on his phone. It was fun. Yes, I got to watch WrestleMania Night 1 with Moose on his cell phone, the current TNA World Champion.
That's actually pretty epic still.
As I wrestled in an actual hockey arena in the Western Hockey League.
Yes.
It was pretty cool. I'm going to brag.
That's not bragging, man. That's just flexing, and you deserve that flex.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do that all you want, buddy. We will not shit on you for that here.
It was also the first night where actually that my beautiful new theme song played for the first time in a wrestling form. So that was cool. But no, I mean, with this whole thing, it's very intriguing to me. There's always somebody that benefits because when we looked at the WWF at the time versus WCW invasion angle, Booker T stood to benefit very largely coming out of this invasion angle.
Yep.
And you could probably say with him, Rob Van Dam being another one.
Yeah.
And maybe even the Hurricane.
I'll even go so far as to say DDP could have benefited had they not given him that stupid stalker story right off the bat.
See, I didn't think it was bad, but they were also very limited on where they could go because you knew they weren't going to go completely dark, and that's what the problem was.
Yeah,
they really capped the potential of that feud based on what their product was giving you, So in theory, it's amazing, but in reality, you're kind of just you're cock blocking yourself already.
I mean, I think what you could have done with DDP instead of just having him job out to the Undertaker every week and even job out to Sarah in some matches, could have given DDP at least a couple of wins.
And let's face it, we wanted to see him and Randy Orton at once.
Yeah, I know
But I
I
don't
did.
actually. But then again, this is 2002. I don't think Randy Orton with the RKO was a thing yet.
No,
I think
and
that was more 2004, 2005.
towards the end of 2003 when he actually turned heel.
Yeah. I mean, he would have been in the company though.
Right.
So.
Oh, sorry. Towards the end of 2002 when he turned heel and he was doing that RNN thing when he was injured.
Yeah. I mean, he was the Legend Killer, and how great would it be if he had a match with DDP, beat him with the Diamond Cutter, then took it, used it, said it was the RKO from here on out, and there you go.
Yep.
It's kind of like how Bray Wyatt took things away from everybody as the Fiend. He took the red light away from Kane. He took Mandible Claw away from Mick Foley. It's very symbolic. But
although I do think that by the time Orton started his rise, DDP had already gone to TNA at that point.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if DDP was around for WrestleMania 20. I think he was there for WrestleMania 19.
Yeah, I saw him wrestle at WrestleMania 18 against Christian.
Yeah, for the European title.
Yes, that was the opening match of WrestleMania X8.
Which I believe he won, and then Christian threw a tantrum at the end.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because DDP got on the mic and said, "Look at you, Christian. You put up a hell of a fight. You didn't cry about losing." And then Christian threw the tantrum.
And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Honestly, I actually liked when DDP was doing that gimmick.
I mean, positively Pages. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
well, the book was, but he himself wasn't.
So I kind of want to kind of pull the room. How do you book Roxanne Perez versus Jordan Grace at Battleground then? Because if you ask me, the match looks like a very David versus Goliath type match. All money, if you ask me, Jordan Grace wins this match.
Right.
And I really don't think it's a bad idea if she does.
Mm-hmm.
I don't either, but I also wonder if this is where we maybe see the return of Cora Jade to cost Jordan Grace.
That's exactly what I was thinking too.
Is Cora due back anytime now, or?
Cora returned a couple of weeks ago at a house show and called out Roxanne.
Okay.
But we also know they have their history. We know that they are friends. We know they're best friends, so.
Yeah, and we also don't know if that's something that is one. It's hard to assume house shows and TV are aligned.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I'm also going to suggest this one. Do we see maybe then a Naomi come out to have Jordan's back?
Or do we see Naomi cost Jordan?
Right?
I mean, it was Jordan who took the title, the TNA title off Naomi.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, she didn't take it off Naomi. She took it off Trinity.
Yep. But we did see a little bit of that interaction at the Rumble when, Yes, they hugged and then promptly started to pound the snot out of each other in a hockey fight.
Yeah.
There's also a part of me that wants to see, because we saw them trading suplexes in the Royal Rumble, but I want to see Ivy Nile and Jordan Grace go at it at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see if Chelsea Green brings back her old gimmick too.
Right? Laurel Van Ness?
Well, just like the whole, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I mean. Like, I think this really stands to benefit the women. But Bulkster, how would you book the Roxanne Perez versus Jordan Grace match for the NXT Women's Title at Battleground?
Jordan Grace versus Roxanne Perez, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
First of all, I don't know how long do we have till Battleground?
I
Couple
believe
of
it's
weeks.
June 9th.
So 2 weeks,
So
Mhm.
10 days.
10 days. Okay, so we only have one go home show before the pay-per-view.
Yes.
Two if you
So-
want to count TNA, because they may do stuff on TNA as well.
True.
But are they live or pre-taped?
That's
That's
the
true.
$1 million question.
Yeah. So we know next week Jordan Grace is facing somebody
Stevie
from
Turner.
NXT, Stevie Turner.
Yeah.
I feel either Roxanne will be out there at commentary, or she will be involved in the match at the end to, jump Jordan, get her disqualified or something or nature. Try to get the upper hand before the PLE. I feel that Jordan Grace, man, she's powerful. I mean, when I've seen at the Royal Rumble, I went back and I watched a few matches on TNA when she did appear after that. Watched some matches with her and Naomi and stuff like that. She's pretty impressive. Roxanne's impressive too. She has that stature of AJ Lee that I always liked. So you have the big bodybuilder versus the quick and agile. Man, it would be shock and awe for Jordan to win the NXT title. People are probably already going to think this is a throwaway match because they don't think there's no way WWE is going to let a TNA person win the title. I think this would be a good get your feet wet and see how the fans react. Well, the fans will go crazy if she wins the belt.
The fans went nuts for Jordan Grace, both at the Royal Rumble and at NXT.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't think Jordan Grace has to worry about if she gets a reaction. She's going to get a reaction.
The fans are already going to think, though, that there's no way they're going to give the belt to TNA to have shown on their show. But if it does happen, that is a big step of faith for WWE to do that, to give a person that's not under contract with them
Yep.
to represent their company.
As I alluded to earlier, TNA did air footage, both from the Royal Rumble when it happened and from NXT on Tuesday tonight.
Okay. So I have a feeling this could be a great time to pull a trigger on that. And I heard Bubba was talking about Bubba Dudley. And he was talking his booking, and I thought his booking was on par, would be cool. Have Jordan win, get the title, and then have Roxanne or somebody else from NXT that's going to get a title shot beat Jordan Grace at Slammiversary to get the title back. And I was like, That, I mean, he goes, it's 50-50 booking, but it opens that door that you never know what to expect. As in,
Right.
So yeah, that would be very cool. I mean, that's how I would book it. I think I would agree with Bubba on that and book it that way where it's no one's looking. It's TNA's looking strong, and then WWE is chasing the belt, and they end up winning the belt back at their biggest PLE, which is Slammiversary. And maybe have some other NXT people there just to have backup, kind of like this faction in between, like TNA girls and NXT girls.
Now, I'm going to pull something here that I think could be very intriguing. Imagine if this match is happening and we see somebody else from NXT. Or maybe, actually, better yet, what happens if we have somebody else from TNA show up to help Jordynne Grace win the championship? What happens if Mickie James comes in to help Jordan win?
Mm-hmm.
And we're now thinking, okay, who could be a great representation of NXT to help Cora Jade? And this is a match I am going to say I would like to see, and I would love to see this person beat Jordynne Grace for the TNA Women's Knockout title. Natalya.
Okay.
Yeah. The thing that interests me about this match is we've already pointed out that it is going to be a David versus Goliath type match. The thing that intrigues me is usually in those matches, Goliath is the heel. But in this case, Goliath is the babyface.
Yes.
I'm very intrigued to see how that dichotomy plays out in the match.
Yeah.
I'm even going to pose this one. Okay, let's say Jordan does win the title and you get the rematch at Slammiversary. And you're going to put somebody in Cora's corner to help. Who better than her mentor and trainer, but Booker T?
Well, I mean, who better than Kenyon?
Both.
I'm not putting a man in a woman's thing. Not if there's not another dude in that corner.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing that, I have to do something where there's at least a man there. So if, say, Tommy Dreamer is in the corner of Jordan, then yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Or if Gresham is in the corner, then yes.
See, and that's where I think that a guy like a Bully Ray would factor in, because he and Jordan do have history.
That's where I was going to go. Like, which male has history with Jordynne Grace?
But I think the one thing I'm going to also say, I don't think it's right to assume that TNA wrestling fans know everything about WWE and vice versa.
Right.
I don't think diehard WWE fans really know a lot about the TNA history and who has heat with who has done an angle with who.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think this is a way to create something new and something fresh while banking on of something that of note that you can use to help elevate that.
Right. So as I'm seeing on my screen right now, coming up next Friday, in 2 weeks, June 14th, is TNA Against All Odds, which is their Impact Plus special.
Okay. Now that would be a great way to have something go down, because it's against all odds. So I mean, yeah, like that. If you really want to make the name true, you got to do something of newsworthy there.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to do something monumental there.
Here's something big, and this would be very interesting. But what happens if it is Drew McIntyre versus Moose for that TNA World's title? What happens if Triple H gets involved physically and costs Moose the title to have Drew win? And now you have something you can talk about.
Right. Well, and I was just going to say, like, if you're going to do something monumental like that, and I'm going to allude back to the invasion angle, what about having Shawn Michaels lead Team NXT into a TNA arena?
I would kind of need Shawn Michaels in a more managerial spot there.
My thing is who's going to be the number one representation of TNA? Or is it going to be Tommy Dreamer? Is it going to be Bully Ray? Is it like, I think that needs to be established because we
Right.
all know Shawn Michaels is the guy in NXT. We all know Triple H is the guy for WWE. We have general managers for all three brands.
Right.
But
Yeah,
my
I was going to
question,
say, isn't Santino the GM over in TNA?
He is. He is their director of authority.
the Santino Shawn Michaels stuff could be very intriguing and interesting.
Yeah.
And Santino and Ava Raine, it would be kind of funny because I think Santino would help Ava Raine a lot
Yeah.
in that kind of role. But
Now imagine this: if you get that, do you bring over Ariana Grace for a confrontation with Santino?
You know, it's actually
imagine if
funny
you had moles and that's one of them.
It's actually funny that you mentioned Ariana Grace because she was actually the match that followed the Jordan Grace segment. I thought that was kind of interesting. We got one Grace followed by another Grace.
Yep.
But
I think that'd be interesting seeing Ariana Grace as like a mole in NXT for Santino.
and that's what I mean. Like maybe we have Ariana Grace, and this could be a breaking out moment for her. Maybe she is the one that helps Jordan Grace win the title at Battleground. And as she can be public heel number one on the roster there.
Right.
But I mean, she could be welcomed by TNA to like stuff like that. Like you have to think because there were ideas on the invasion angle that were great. It was just, I think, not well executed because it just didn't seem like a fair invasion angle for both companies.
Right.
It seemed like a very died down WCW going up against WWF, who then had to supply the stars for WCW.
Yeah. Another thing too, if you're going to talk about,
Yeah.
I mean, we've alluded to the WWE Women's Champions versus the Knockouts Champions, but if we're going to do it from NXT, do we maybe see a Toxic Attraction reunion to challenge Masha and Alicia Edwards? Do we see JC Jane and Gigi Dolan?
Well, the reason why I said Bianca and whatnot is because they are capable of going to
Right.
NXT. And that's I actually kind of want to see Cora and Roxanne be that, to be honest.
Mhm.
Right.
Or you can see like who's a very good NXT women's tag team right now.
I can't even think of one.
Right now, that's got to be Natalia and Carmen Petrovic.
So it could be them. I think this is a great opportunity for Casey Catanzaro and Katana Chance, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or Kaden
Alba
Carter
Fire and
Katana
Isla
Chance.
Dawn.
Like people will say, no, you're not doing anything with Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. Well, this could be something. Same with the KCs. But yeah, I do think that this could a show where all NXT and TNA titles on the line, or at least there could be title versus title. That really intrigues me.
What about the idea of Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler?
I mean, they are the number one contenders to Belair and Cargill right now.
Mm-hmm.
Crickets.
So I mean, yeah, it really you really have to think what is a very likely thing we're going to see. The next show that we know is Battleground.
Yeah.
So we know something big is probably going to take place at Battleground. We know Jordan Grace is going to get her first match in WWE one-on-one on Tuesday against Stevie Turner.
Yes.
Mhm.
So do we see something in value there? Do we see something newsworthy at Battleground? I believe if we see something big on Battleground, that just means Against All Odds and Slammiversary are must-watch shows moving forward now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this, you cannot expect that everything is going to happen all on the WWE side of things.
No.
Oh, hell no. Maybe at Against All Odds, that's where we see AJ come in and do something, you know. Although I think I would bank on that more on Slammiversary, because the way they promote Slammiversary, it's promoting the anniversary of
Yeah.
TNA.
It is
See you
their
later, Terry.
Slammiversary is their second biggest show of the year. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Slammiversary was actually a WCW creation because WCW was started out as an NWA company as well.
I think you're confusing that with Slamboree.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, no, if anything was WCW creation, it would then have been merged to WWE
Yeah.
with the sale. But yeah, I don't know. Like, all I know is this: like, this is out. TNA at one point was the number 2, competing with WWE, and they tried to go on Monday nights to compete. That was a bad idea, but at some point, they were considered the alternate, just like AEW now is the alternate promotion. And TNA has kind of slipped to that number 3 spot. It probably would have been number 4 had Ring of Honor really kept going on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But now we're seeing kind of that pairing where, okay, this is going to help TNA because like their last pay-per-view they had didn't do great numbers.
No.
Their buy rates were not good. So this really helps their product. This really helps those numbers. So it's a definitely a win for TNA, and it really helps the product of NXT and really makes it must see. So now people are tuning in because they have to, and NXT is the one that competes with Dynamite. So this is going to be a play that really helps both brands in 2 different ways.
Absolutely. And I mean, you're right. Like I said, as you were coming on the air, Chris, I used to hold TNA up here as, you know, better than Raw, better than SmackDown, better than WWE. I did have Ring of Honor still in at number 3. For me, even since AEW formed, I've held TNA above AEW.
But is that just personal opinion?
That is my personal opinion, but I also think it's been better quality. You sort of always had that feel of an independent show with TNA, whereas the WWE, AEW, it's all about the production value, the theatrics, the pyro. And I love that, you know, feel of the indies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to me, and that's what I like. I gravitated towards the Ring of Honor during the early 2000s is because it had that kind of grungy. We're not perfect, but we're putting out a product that, you know, you're gonna like. And I think there's something that is very relatable to something that appears to be imperfect because that really resembles every human being out there. And if you can see a flaw in yourself and you're watching a wrestling promotion that also knows, yeah, we have flaws, but we're still going to go out there and try to be better all the time. That's very symbolic to how an average person lives their life. So that's why I think people fell in love with Ring of Honor in the early 2000s. That's why I think a lot of people fell in love with TNA from the get-go when it was NWA TNA. And
Yep.
it just did those weekly Wednesday pay-per-views.
Yep.
And then because of that, you're able to just become part of the journey.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's something you're proud of. But then you see something like Ring of Honor gets bought out by Tony Khan and it kind of merges with AEW. Well, TNA became its own thing. They went to Impact. And then they went back to TNA and they haven't been bought out by anyone and they're still around, still doing their own thing and still kind of beating to their own drum. And this is yes, they've tried partnerships, especially with AEW in the past, and it didn't work out. And I really think they got some sympathy on that because a lot of fans said, well, AEW, you just did this for yourself. TNA didn't really stand to benefit. Now we're starting to see something that could be a potential collaboration that works. And all we've been seeing is Knockouts champion with Mickey James in the Royal Rumble, Jordan Grace at the Royal Rumble. Now Jordan Grace on NXT. All we've seen is TNA get that shutout. We have not yet seen WWE get it. So it's a complete 360 on how we view this partnership. But really, it does help WWE because it helps their product. It just helps the TNA stars get that exposure and they get that name across more. And now people are going to be looking at TNA as a higher player in the scale simply because of who they're partnered with. When you're getting spotted by the big muscle, you tend to become a little bit better in the gym yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, and when you said that TNA and WWE both stand to benefit from that, I was thinking back to the very first time I saw WWE and TNA strike a deal, and that was when WWE wanted to bring Ric Flair in for the Hall of Fame for the Four Horsemen. They traded Ric Flair for Christian Cage.
Yep.
And in the end, it was a lopsided trade, really. But both companies actually did benefit from that trade.
What all TNA did for that was bring Christian in to induct Sting into the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Was it really? See, that's the thing. I don't think it's a lopsided trade. It's a lopsided trade because you look at Ric Flair and what he means to wrestling.
Yeah.
But I think it's like also what does Christian Cage mean for TNA? And I think that was a win for them because Christian Cage, when he signed, was the biggest deal in TNA history at the time, up until Kurt Angle. And then that was a whole different ballgame. But Christian Cage at one point was the guy that made TNA a viable option outside of WWE. So I think from an internal standpoint, Christian Cage is I don't want to say he's a god, but when you tell me a Mount Rushmore of TNA, his name is probably mentioned. Ric Flair, we all know what he is for pro wrestling, and we all know the importance there. So I know you said lopsided, but I'm also going to say, I know you don't mean it in a derogatory way, but I'm also just saying I don't think it was lopsided in any way.
Oh, neither do I. I was speaking from what I've read from other people and what I've heard from other fans, how they thought it was lopsided, but I'm like, it really isn't because Ric Flair was a main eventer in WWE. Christian was a main eventer in TNA. It's an even trade in my eyes.
Christian was a main eventer in WWE too.
Yeah, true.
Well,
yeah, Christian was a main eventer when they did the trade. That's right.
He's also world champion. What?
And the funny thing was Sting was already in TNA when Christian initially signed there, and he outshone Sting.
Yeah.
But Sting was already into that mentorship role, and okay, I've got to start putting over these younger guys. I can go back and work with a Jarrett because I've got history with him from WCW, and that can make for an intriguing storyline. But then they overdid it. And then they brought in Hogan, and you had the Sting and Hogan, and then Flair comes in, and you've got all three of them, and it's...
Well, the thing was about Christian was he represented the first time somebody of value currently from
Mhm.
WWE chose them over Sting.
Yeah.
And it is one of those things where it worked for Christian because he was betting on himself to go somewhere else to make a bigger name. We talked about how that's worked for Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, the list goes on. So you really could say Christian Cage was the first real person to do that.
Yep.
Yep.
If you really go back, maybe not the first, but of our times.
I definitely believe he pioneered that.
Yeah, it's like nobody talks about Colt Cabana in the podcasting for wrestlers, but I mean, it was really him.
Right.
But so, and then it's just like, it was, oh my God, like this guy was just feuding with John Cena, and this guy was, going toe to toe with some of the biggest names,
Yep.
and now he's our guy. That's cool. Okay, I'm on board.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, now you're kind of taking TNA a little bit more seriously. So I think it's one of those things where I would have loved to see this be like where Adam Copeland's still in WWE as Edge. We have Christian Cage. I would have loved to see it now. Not that I'm saying their stuff in AEW is bad. I just think this would have been more organic and more natural.
Yeah.
But it's also hard to say because Christian is doing some of his best work. So maybe that's just me being biased.
Adam is jumping off a cage and landing on his feet.
Well, I'm sure he was told to break a leg for his performance, and he took it literally. I mean, but
I mean, honestly, if it weren't for Christian Cage, I wouldn't have ordered my first TNA pay-per-view. I'm not going to lie.
I know the first time I ordered TNA was the weekly Wednesday thing. I wanted to see what it was. I was intrigued.
I mean, other than the weekly pay-per-views, because I did that too. So
yeah, and like I didn't do a lot of them.
I spent too much money doing it.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think when you just look at what TNA represents, I think it represents more of like when you looked at the movie The Wrestler, right?
Right.
And you looked at the main character. All he did was not give up on what his dream was.
Yeah.
And that's really what TNA as a wrestling company is. Are they the best? No. Are they the biggest? Are they the most successful? No. But they're still going, still ticking because they love to do it.
That's right.
And if that's not relatable, I really don't know what is. And I'm going to say that's diarrhea because he didn't even say anything. He has explosive shits. I'm just throwing him under the bus now.
Oh, he just like, I froze and he was sitting there and then he disappeared.
Say his name and he
geez.
disappears.
I don't believe in OMD. Tied at 1 now for the Florida Rangers.
Oh yeah, it's been tied for a while. But I mean,
yeah,
no, like, if that's the, I'm gonna say this: if I will book Jordan Grace to win the NXT Championship, and I think overall it will be Roxanne Perez who wins it back. I think that stands to benefit Roxanne Perez. But in dual thing, I think having Natty win the TNA Knockouts title only for Jordan to win that back, at the end of the day, benefits both.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I think that's a match probably both girls want to have at some point as well. And then you could do something where, well, if you do Moose and McIntyre, and then as we play musical screens,
yeah,
but if you do Moose and McIntyre and you do something of noteworthy there, does Moose make a visit to Scotland? Especially if my idea where a certain Joe Hendry becomes guest host comes in. Because if you have him as guest host, he might just open the doors for other people from TNA to come aboard. And if there's something to do with McIntyre there, and this is also another one. If McIntyre does something with Moose, would CM Punk cost McIntyre?
I think so.
I got an eye open widely from OMD, so I think I just blew his mind. So
Yeah.
And
what do
here's
you
the
think?
here's the other thing. CM Punk is a former TNA wrestler too.
Yes, he
Mhm.
is.
That's why I said it. He was part of the gathering
Yep.
Yes, he was.
with
With-
one Alexis Lurie and Raven.
Yep.
Yes, he was. And ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the culmination of what has become a 2-hour show, we thank you all for joining us here on Open Mic Night. We are going to get to the socials here in just a second, and we are going to begin that with Mr. Chris.
He's going to say me, but he's finding them right now.
Yes, I am going to start with you, Mr. Parrish. Would you like to? Do you want to tell the people where they can find you at?
At my house. That's where I am right now from a physical presence. Also wearing my beautiful Adam Pearce shirt that I was gifted by the man himself. But yeah, no, where you can see me is every Sunday on my Twitch, on my Facebook, on my YouTube with Chris Parrish Podcast, where this Sunday I am bringing in somebody who might be a beginning of a collaboration. We don't know. We'll see what happens. But it's Jack Lucerne from the Worst Sports Podcast, where also on Saturday, I will not be joining his live show. I'll be recording one with him that will air on the following Wednesday. So go check out the Worst Sports channel, and you will see me on there eventually. And then you will see Jack on the Chris Parrish Podcast this Sunday. And then also coming up on June 9th, I will be joining One Throwback and Bad Blood for their Battlegrounds review show. So come check that out. I'll have more details that follow.
Okay, and Mr. Best.
All right, you guys can look for me tomorrow night, CBRS and alongside OMD, as we do the SmackDown Security Detail. Tomorrow night, also a new episode coming of the WWE 2K24 My Rise. You can find that show on YouTube.com at CBRS Entertainment. If you want to follow me on all my other socials, you can look for me at twitch.tv, CBRS_entertainment. Threads.net at cbestfilms83, tiktok.com, Facebook.com, chris.best83, tiktok.com, cbrs.entertainment. Also Monday nights or Saturday nights, you can look for me doing Saturday Night Gaming as I continue the adventures of Nathan Drake through Uncharted 4. Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, alongside these two beautiful bastards and Carl Carafel and Bubba Duke as we do the Raw Patrol. You can look for me Tuesday nights, 8:05 Eastern, alongside OMD as we do Turnbuckle Talk alongside our friend Carl Carafel.
And gentlemen, thank you for joining me here tonight. If the people want to find me, they can find me on the Book of Faces, Daniel Harisic, HRYCYK, on Snapchat, One Man Dynamic, capitals on O, M, and D, on Twitch at OMD17, and on Discord at OMD6370. As you alluded to, Mr. Best, you can catch me right here every Monday with Chris Best, with Chris Parrish, Bubba Duke, Carl Carafel, with the Raw Patrol. As well, you can catch me at 7 p.m. on Mondays with the Raw Preview Review Show right here on the Boar's Nest with Bubba Duke and our guest who abandoned us, the Bulkster.
Yeah.
Tuesday nights at 8:05 with Chris Bask and Carl Carafell on Turnbuckle Talk, right here on the Boar's Nest every Thursday at 8 o'clock, and Friday again, as Chris alluded to, with the SmackDown security detail. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much. And
Before you say your farewells, I forgot I have to announce right here on Bubba OMD, we are going to be doing a new show surrounding PlayStation. Just stay tuned.
yes. And so from all of us here at the Boar's Nest, to those of you out there, wherever you are, have a good night. We out.